The Xeno scout fleet emerged from the void, their sleek, silver-blue vessels cutting through the darkness like knives. Admiral Vale of the Corithian Expansionary Force studied a human colony on his holo-display, a pitiful cluster of domes and rusted docking spires clinging to a barren rock. His mandibles twitched in amusement. The reports had been correct. These humans were primitives, barely spacefaring. Their ships were blocky, unaerodynamic, their technology crude. This would be an easy annexation. Then the sensors screamed. "Admiral!" the tactical officer hissed, his carapace flushing with alarm. Massive energy signatures, multiple contacts, bearing 030. Vale's claws tightened around his command perch. Warships. Unknown. They're too large. No known human vessel matches this profile. The holo display flickered, resolving the approaching objects. Vale's gut churned. They were monstrous, great, slab-sided behemoths, their hulls pitted with armor plating thicker than a dreadnought's. No weapons turrets. No missile ports. Just bulk. And they were slow. Painfully slow. What in the name of the void are those? The science officer's voice trembled. Theoretical analysis suggests mobile defense platforms. Perhaps orbital fortresses. Vale snarled. It didn't matter. Whatever they were in his way. Target the lead vessel. Disable it. Let the humans learn their place. The Corithian fleet opened fire. Plasma lances streaked across the black, slamming into the lead human monstrosity, and did nothing. The energy dispersed across its hull like water on stone. No breach. No explosion. Not even a scorch mark. Silence gripped the bridge. Then, impossibly, the human vessel responded, not with weapons, with drones. Small, buzzing things that flitted across its hull, repairing microscopic damage. Vale's crest flared in outrage. They mock us. Boarding parties. Prepare to seize that vessel. I want answers. Inside the Goliath 7, Chief Engineer Rourke O'Malley spat a glob of scent tobacco into a cup and squinted at the damage report. The hell was that? Meteor shower? His assistant, Lou, pulled up the external feed. Boss? We're being shot at. Rourke blinked. On the screen, sleek alien ships swarmed around them like angry wasps. One of them was launching boarding pods. Well, shit. He sighed, cracking his knuckles. Guess we're doing this the hard way. The Goliath 7 wasn't a warship. It was a fuel hauler, a flying gas station for deep space mining ops. Its hull was thick because it had to survive asteroid bumps and radiation storms. Its drones were for repairs, not combat. But Rourke had served in the Belt Wars. He knew how to improvise. Lou, reroute all non-essential power to the mag clamps. Let's give these bastards a warm welcome. The boarding pods latched on. The aliens cut their way in. And then the Goliath 7S gravity generators flicked off. Corithian warriors spilled into the access corridor. Only to flail as momentum sent them crashing into the ceiling. Rourke grinned, kicking off a wall and sailing toward them with a plasma torch in hand. "All right, you squiddy sons of bitches," he growled. "Let's talk about trespassing." The first alien died screaming as the torch sliced through its carapace. The second tried to shoot, only for the magnetic floor plates to yank its weapon away. Lou, floating near the ceiling, dropped a canister of compressed hydrogen into the fray. Rourke shot it. The explosion ripped through the corridor, shredding aliens and sending the survivors scrambling back to their pods. But it wasn't enough. More were coming. Rourke keyed the ship-wide comm. All hands abandon the outer decks. Flood sections 4 through 12 with coolant. A pause. Then, "Boss, that'll kill the engines." "Yeah," Rourke said, watching the aliens push deeper. "But it'll kill them first." The alarms wailed. The Goliath 7 braced for impact. And in the void outside, the Corithian fleet watched in horror as the human monstrosity, this thing they had assumed was a warship, began to rupture. Fuel lines burst. Coolant geysered into space. And then, with a silent, fiery bloom, the Goliath 7 tore itself apart, taking 3 Corithian vessels with it. Admiral Vale stared at the wreckage, his blood running cold. This wasn't a warship. This had never been a warship. And yet it had just wiped out a third of his fleet. What in the void were these humans? End section 1 to 1,500 words. Next section preview asterisk, the aliens board another tanker, only to realize too late that humanity has learned from the first encounter. The real trap is about to spring. Let me know if you want any adjustments. I kept it tight, action-focused, and with a strong HFY punch. No fluff, no repetition, just relentless momentum. The Corinthian assault shuttle shuddered as it locked onto the second human tanker's hull. Commander Crix adjusted her breathing mask, mandibles clicking in agitation. The last boarding action had been a disaster, but High Command demanded answers. This time, they would be prepared. Her warriors stacked behind her, pulse rifles humming, armor claws flexing. No more mistakes. No more surprises. The breaching charges detonated. Crix lunged through the smoking hole and immediately sank knee-deep in viscous black fluid. "What is this?" she snarled, yanking her leg free. The chamber beyond was a cavernous nightmare of pipes, reservoirs, and flickering hazard lights. The air reeked of chemicals, thick enough to make her ocular membrane sting. A warrior slipped, crashing into a valve cluster. Liquid sprayed everywhere, sizzling against armor. Crix hissed a retreat order. Too late. Two more aliens stumbled into exposed wiring. Blue sparks arced. Then the screaming started. A human voice boomed over hidden speakers. Asterisk. Yeah, you might want to avoid the synthetic crude. It's kinda corrosive. Asterisk. Crix's blood ran cold. They were being toyed with. Find them, she barked. Tear this rust bucket apart. Her warriors fanned out, clambering over fuel drums, wading through ankle-deep sludge. One squad rounded a corner and met a wall of fire. The humans hadn't even bothered with guns. They'd simply opened a pressurized fuel line and tossed a flare. Crix's comms erupted with shrieks as her advance team burned alive. She fell back, signaling the reserve units forward. Big mistake. From the shadows above, a human dropped onto a Corinthian warrior's back, driving a hydrospanner through its breathing vents. Another alien spun to shoot, only for a heavy wrench to cave in its skull. Crix caught a glimpse of them. No armor, no uniforms, just grease-stained coveralls and murderous grins. "Welcome aboard," one human said, hefting a pipe. "Let's talk about your extended warranty." Chaos erupted. The humans fought like demons, using the ship itself as a weapon. They triggered emergency vents, flooding corridors with scalding steam. They rerouted power, electrifying handrails. One lunatic even kicked a valve wheel loose, sending it spinning through an alien's thorax. Crix's warriors died in droves, not to soldiers, but to mechanics. She finally cornered one human in a control niche, pinning him with her plasma cutter. "You're not even military," she spat. The human coughed blood, laughing. "Nah, we're the guys who keep the military running." Then he slammed his palm on a console. Klaxons wailed. Crix's translator barely had time to process the words "emergency purge initiated" before the world turned white. Admiral Vale watched from a flagship as the second tanker's exhaust ports vomited a superheated geyser of waste plasma. The boarding shuttle's distress beacon cut off mid-transmission. His tactical officer turned, carapace pale. They've entered the core chamber. Deliberately. Vale's claws dug into his command throne. 2 tankers. 2 failures. And still no understanding of what these monstrosities truly were. A junior officer timidly offered sensor data. "Admiral, the humans are transmitting." Vale gestured sharply. The holo-display resolved into the scarred face of a human male, grinning like a predator. Asterisk. "Hey, squid eyes. Word of advice." Asterisk, the human leaned closer. Asterisk, "Stop boarding our gas stations." Asterisk, the transmission cut. Silence gripped the bridge. Then the science officer whispered what everyone was thinking. "They're not warships. They're logistical vessels." Vale felt something he hadn't experienced since his larval molt. Fear. If this was how humanity's support fleet fought, what horrors awaited when their actual warships arrived. End section 2 to 1,500 words. Next section preview asterisk, the Corythian retreat become the route as humanity's real navy arrives, and they've been taking notes on how to weaponize everything. Section 3. The Corythian armada burned hard for the system's edge, engines flaring crimson as they fled. Admiral Vale's flagship shuddered from a dozen unrepaired battle scars, but the damage to their pride cut deeper. On the tactical display, the remaining human tankers hung motionless near the ruined colony, ungainly, scarred, and utterly terrifying. All ships. Vale transmitted, mandibles clicking with barely restrained fury. Prepare for void jump. We returned to high command with. A proximity alert screamed. New contact erupted from the colony's dark side. Sleek, angular, brutal, human warships. Not the bloated tankers, but dagger-shaped destroyers wreathed in the cold glow of active weapon arrays. Their hulls bore fresh kill markings in jagged white paint. Vale's tactical officer collapsed 2 of his secondary limbs in distress. Admiral, their lead vessel is hailing us. The holo display flickered to life, revealing a human admiral leaning back in her command throne. Gray streaked her close-cropped hair, but her eyes held the sharpness of a vibroblade. Admiral Vale, she said, voice like grinding tectonic plates. Leaving so soon? Vale forced his crest to remain rigid. You have no claim to the system. Human, your pitiful colony, was a mining outpost. The Admiral smiled. That tanker you butchered carried enough fuel to keep it running for a decade. She leaned forward. Now let's talk about reparations. Silence. Then laughter burst from the Corythian bridge crew. Vale spread his claws in mock apology. You mistake our retreat for weakness. Even with reinforcements, your fleet is outgunned 3-1. The Admiral's smile didn't waver. She tapped the control. Every Corythian sensor suite lit up at once. The tankers, those supposedly harmless fuel depots, were moving, not toward the battle, not toward safety. They were accelerating on suicide trajectories toward Vale's fleet. Those are unarmed vessels. Vale spat. Correction, the Admiral said. They were unarmed. The lead tanker's hull plating blew away in synchronized explosions, revealing row upon row of jury-rigged missile pods. Not military grade. Mining charges, welding lasers, and fuel-air bombs cobbled together with duct tape and spite. The tactical officer's voice cracked. Admiral, they're mass signatures. They're not carrying fuel anymore. The human Admiral stood. You wanted to see our warships? Here they are. She raised a fist. Tanker Division Alpha, light him up. Space turned white. The modified tankers vomited fire, their improvised weapons burning out in a single glorious salvo. A Corythian cruiser vanished in the first volley, its shields collapsing under the sheer tonnage of scrap metal screaming into its hull. Vale's flagship lurched as a fuel hauler turned battering ram plowed through their escort line. It detonated moments later, bathing 3 destroyers in burning promethium. Chaos swallowed the Corythian formation. Ships collided in their panic. A dreadnought accidentally vaporized 2 of its own fighters while trying to target a tanker spiraling wildly through its blind spots. Through the carnage, the human warships advanced, methodical, precise, conserving their fire. Vale realized the truth too late. This wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. His calms crackled back to life. The human admiral's face filled the screen, backlit by the flames of dying starships. Still feel outgunned, Admiral? Vale's claws trembled. He had no answer. End section 3 to 1,500 words. Next section preview asterisk, the surviving Corythians limp home, only to find humanity's monster tanker legend has spread faster than their retreat. The galaxy learns a hard way. Never underestimate a species that turns gas stations into gunships. Section 4. The last Corythian survivors vanish into the void, their shattered fleet limping home on dying engines. Admiral Vale's command chair sat empty, its occupant having taken the warriors farewell after transmitting their defeat to high command. Across the scorched battlefield, the human warships move with quiet precision, collecting escape pods, both theirs and the enemy's. No cheers echoed through corridors. No celebrations erupted in the mess halls. Just the grim satisfaction of mechanics surveying a job well done. Aboard the flagship Thermopylae, Admiral Vance studied the after-action report scrolling across her screen. Losses, minimal. Tankers sacrificed. 6. Enemy vessels destroyed or crippled. 37. Her XO whistled low. They'll think twice before tangling with our gas stations again. Vance didn't smile. They'll be back. With friends. She was right. The transmission spread to the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds, jumping from comm buoy to comm buoy, from species to species. The visuals were grainy, distorted by radiation and panic. But the message was clear. Beware the humans. Beware their monster tankers. By the time the Galactic Concord Assembly convened its emergency session, 17 different civilizations had already begun retrofitting their own support vessels with weapons. None did it as well as the humans. Ambassador Krellix of the Thrinx Collective slammed a chitinous fist on the arbitration table. This is an outrage. The humans have violated every convention of civilized warfare. Across the chamber, human ambassador Elias Carter sipped his coffee. Which convention prohibits turning a fuel barge into a missile battery? The one about proportional response. Carter set down his cup. You mean when the Corithians glassed New Brisbane? Or when they massacred the Gagaris escape pods? He leaned forward. We didn't start this fight. We just finished it with the tools we had. Silence fell. Then the Ilmari representative, a species known for their mercantile prowess, cleared their throat. These tankers of yours, are they for sale? Carter smiled. 6 standard months later, the Corithian High Command gathered in their impregnable bunker beneath the homeworld's crust. The holographic war map showed a terrifying sight. Human tankers patrolling every major trade route, their bulbous silhouettes now a universal symbol of dread. Fleet Marshal ZYX trembled as she reviewed the latest intelligence. They've upgraded. The images showed tankers with modular weapon pods, some carrying enough firepower to glass a continent. Others had been converted into mobile shipyards, spitting out fighters like a queen bee birthing drones. Worst of all were the ones marked with a simple black stripe. "Q ships," hissed the tactical officer. "They look harmless until—" The bunker's lights flickered. Alarms blared. On the main screen, a single human tanker dropped out of warp directly above the homeworld's capital. Not a warship, not even armed, just a fuel hauler broadcasting on all frequencies. Asterisk Corithian High Command. This is the Morning Star. We're here to discuss unconditional surrender. You got 30 seconds before our escort arrive. Asterisk. ZYX looked at her officers. Every face mirrored the same realization. They'd lost the war the moment they mistook humanity's resilience for weakness. The fleet marshal reached for the comm. End section 4 to 1,500 words. Final line asterisk somewhere in the void. A human engineer welded another unauthorized weapons mount onto a fuel tanker, humming as sparks danced across her goggles. The galaxy would learn, just not the easy way.